It's called New Wave. It was independently financed, raised all the money, cast it out of New York, shot it in Connecticut and New York in 2007, and then got a sales agent that liked it enough, thought he could sell it. Did sell it to a company called THINKFilm, which you probably heard of. And I was really psyched because THINKFilm at the time was really cool. It was one of the really cool independent distributors. There was movies I'd heard of. They did Half Nelson. They did Taxi to the Dark Side. They did Murder Ball. It was a huge documentary that they did.
You essentially, when you started, had no connections to the industry.
None.
You managed to raise a good amount of money.
We ran the 250 grand.
You cast John Krasinski in one of his first features.
Yeah, that was he had done The Office. He'd done the pilot for The Office. It hadn't been picked up, which was good for us. And I didn't know any of this. He just came in and auditioned, and the guy was fucking great. And I was like, oh, dude. Like I had never done this before, so I wasn't gonna be like, "You're hired" in the room, you know. But I was like, as soon as it was done, I turned to the casting director. I'm like, "Yeah, man, that guy's yeah, he's the guy." We had made the deal with him, and then maybe like a week later, The Office got picked up for I think first 6 episodes. Listen, just to make something at all is a win. You know, you hear about so many of these projects, you know, blowing up on the launch pad. Yeah, it was. You know, the movie I wanted to make in a lot of ways. And some parts came out better, some parts came out worse. You know, for a first feature, I was pretty happy with it. We edited it. Again, yeah, we sold it. THINKFilm, super happy. It wasn't a tremendous deal. It wasn't like a bunch of money up front. It was a little bit of money up front, basically to finish the film, like all the stuff that, you know, like the DVDs to the mastering and all that other stuff. But the back end deal was very, very good. Like so I was like, okay, I can pay. I think we have a really good shot at paying my investors back. To me, that was like the big thing, because again, I'm looking at this independent film world, and I said, okay, I raised 250 grand from these like dozen people that were able to give me like 10, 12 grand each, and I was like, okay, if I make money on this film, or if I can at least pay them back, even if none of us get rich out of this, you know, if I can pay them back, they'll give me that money again. They'll like, you know, let it ride, and I'll get to make another movie. And having done one already, I know that like I'll be even more successful. And based on the deal that we had with THINKFilm, contractually, I was like, we don't even have to sell. And this is still when DVDs existed, which obviously was a big, you know, loss to revenue for independent film for a while. Yeah. But I was like, I think even if it's not gangbusters, I think in a year or so we should be able to make our money back and then some. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the movie came out. I had some inside, one of my producers, your brother, they had some connections with the DVD business. And so he was able to call people and say, how many, you know, more normally a filmmaker, you have no idea what sold, what didn't sell. But he was able to call in and get some favors and be like, okay, Hollywood Video bought this many copies. Blockbuster Video bought this many copies. This many went to this rent track, or you know, all these different things. So we kind of put together a number in our head of how many DVDs are out there. You know, we knew how much the wholesale value was. So I'm starting to do the math in my head. And so I was doing the numbers in my head. I'm like, okay, we should be getting, we should be past the break-even point here. We should be able to really make some money. So I'm waiting for our first statement. And you're supposed to get a statement, I think every 6 months was in our deal. So 6 months comes, I don't get a statement. So I'm like, okay, like I don't, you know, I'm calling people. Okay, I'm getting the runaround. Bruce is calling people, getting the runaround. I think it was up to a year. Finally, after like, I think Bruce had to go into the offices in New York. He went down to New York. He marched into the guy's office, barged into his office, and was like, "What the fuck, man?" They gave us a statement, and it said we had $100,000 in marketing costs that were deducted off the top, which is standard, and we knew that. I knew that going in. It wasn't a surprise. It was part of the contract. And they basically said, this is how many units we sold. This is how much money you made, minus the $100,000. You're still in the red, $30,000. I'm like, the numbers of DVDs doesn't add up at all with the inside numbers that I already know about. So I was like, well, maybe they're behind, you know, like the way things come in, maybe like, you know, the next statement we get is going to show like the additional, you know, 30,000 units is shipped or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. but I think that might have been the only statement we ever got, because we didn't get another statement. So 6 months goes by. I'm sitting there. I have now my investors are like, hey, how did the movie do? I mean, at the time it was before the economy shit the bed, and that was the other thing that happened. This movie came out 2007, and that's when the economy, Lehman Brothers collapsed. The whole economy took a dump, and I think that not only affected the independent film industry, it affected everything. And there's a lot of legal stuff going on behind the scenes that I probably shouldn't get into too much because it's allegations that were unproven. But basically, the company went into bankruptcy. So I had to borrow $10,000 from my dad to hire a lawyer to try to get our money back. And that's a shit ton of money. But the lawyer, it wasn't enough money. We're not talking millions of dollars that we would have received for a lawyer to work on contingency, where they'll just take 30% and they'll just do it all for nothing up front. Mm-hmm. So I had to pay $10,000 to this guy, a retainer, to file motions, to go, and we got a summary judgment that they owed us. So here's the other thing. They never even paid us the first upfront money that we were supposed to get. Now, I'm an asshole, I guess, because I should have just not given them the masters, anything before I got that check. Naive me thinks we have a contract, thinks I'm giving you they're supposed to give me X amount of dollars when I turn in all the masters and all that, and all the marketing materials and all the paperwork and all that stuff. Turned all that stuff in and just never saw a dime. Right. So I was suing just to get the upfront money. And we're not even talking about the money that I think they owe me on the back end, which I estimated to be around $500,000, and which would have paid everyone back and then given everybody a little extra. So.
And how common do you think that what they did is?
I think that is absolutely how it works, and unfortunately, I think that there are. I'm not saying every company is like that, but I think there are. Listen, the music industry is very similar. Like, there are no shortage of stories of people getting ripped off. There are no shortage of stories of people just getting taken advantage of. And the truth is, I think it's much bigger than the film industry. Our whole legal system operates on whoever has more money is likely going to win, whether it's a murder case or whether it's a lawsuit. The idea is, like, if I have more money than you, I'm probably going to win a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Like 99 out of 100 times, because it's just how much money it takes to sue someone. So contracts be damned. I didn't have enough money to challenge them. I borrowed $10,000 from him, shouldn't say he gave it to me. And we did a summary judgment, and THINKFilm were required to pay us. And they actually did. They cut us a check for $5,000. So I gave $5,000 back to my dad, and then they cut us another check for $5,000. I gave that back to my dad. So now we're even.
The suing fees are.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then we never got another dime, and then they went into bankruptcy.
Well, so do you have other friends? I mean, besides me, who have gone through similar things?
Yeah. No. Well, it's funny in this whole process when THINKFilm went into bankruptcy around, I'd say 2010. I think is about when they went into bankruptcy. I reached out to I found a list of a bunch of other films in the court filings, and reached out to a bunch of filmmakers and was like, "Hey, can we all get together? Like maybe we can all do something." Because individually, there was 100 films, and I'm saying, like, I am one film that THINKFilm owned, and probably 300, 400 that didn't see a dime. I know just anecdotally, not personally, but the filmmaker Alex Gibney, who did Taxi to the Dark Side, which won the Oscar. I think in 2009, 2010, it won the Best Documentary Oscar. He never got shit from THINKFilm for it.
Oh God.
So, so again, it's not even just little people. So if someone that, I mean, he'd done Client 9, and this guy, he's a well-established filmmaker with people in the industry behind him, with expensive lawyers, with managers, with all those things. He couldn't get it out of these people.
Well, I seem to remember even Peter Jackson had to sue over the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he had Sue New Line. Yeah. Yeah, for stuff, you
So-
know. So yes. So if you go back in history, this isn't a shock that filmmakers get ripped off, musicians get ripped off, you know. But again, I think that it speaks to our legal system. Well, even if I had millions of dollars to throw into a lawsuit, what would it take for me to sue ThinkFilm? And it'd probably take $300,000, $500,000 to sue to possibly get my money back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, so it's not even worth it, right? So that does create this. It creates this environment where it's very, very easy to take advantage of people's dreams. Some of it's industry practice, like where, because that's the other thing. Like I'm supposed to have like an accounting. I should be able to go in and do an audit. You're allowed to do that, right? Well, you need to hire a CPA to do that. You can't just like go in and start looking at people's books. Again, that all costs money, you know, and
some films don't make money.
yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. Sad thing is, it wasn't necessarily the folks at ThinkFilm who started the company, because ThinkFilm got bought by a bigger conglomerate, and that's when I think things turned. And that was right around the time I sold my film to them. So I had no idea. So there's a lot of factors at play. Yeah. I mean, it was a tough time. Because right before that, you just had, I mean, you were able to put out something on DVD and turn a profit, you know? You were able to make a direct-to-DVD movie, you know? I mean, if you wanted to spend $6 million, you probably weren't going to make your money back if you didn't have a theatrical run. But I figured if you're anywhere in that, like, you know, under $500,000, you should be able to turn a profit, you know?
Yeah, well, and you would have. You did.
I mean,
You did turn profit.
Yeah.
It's just
someone stole it.